Are you having a hard time trying to figure out when your burning is actually done? We're going to go over that today. Welcome to Drawing with Fire. I'm Valarie, your neighborhood pyrography artist, joined with hubby.
Okay.
And fur babies.
Woof, woof.
And today
Woof.
we're going to work on details. Now, I'm not completely finished blocking in. I still have the hand. But I've got most of it going. The bubbles, a lot of them still need to be pushed back. We discussed that last week. So today we're going to focus more on our subject. I'm heating up my 18 small at 2.5, but if I think about it, what I really want to address first is the shirt, because we see a lot going on between the wrinkles and the bouquet background, so I need to push that back. So I'm actually going, you know what, I've already got my large spoon shader plugged in, so we're just going to keep with that. I do need to get the cat out of my face, so a little bit like this. Now this is going to be the last live of our portrait. Hey, Burl. And then, so next week's live goes back to the members. But we got to spend 7 lives working on our portrait. And I'm not hating it. I'm actually quite enjoying it. So I'm going to need a little higher heat, so I'm going to bump up to 3. I could go with my large spear shader. Excuse me, but this is what was already plugged in. So we'll get started with that. Now, we know from our reference right here that this is pink. Just because pink looks like a light color does not mean tonal-wise that it's a light color. And this is what I mean. I should have thrown the Sapia version up. See? We got tone. Pink's not just pink in the sense of tone. We've got different shadings and different tonal value. We got darker and lighter. But I think right now, because I was blocking in where all the wrinkles are, I can push those back now. So throw that back up there, and we're going to get started. Turn that. Bump this down. I'm going to try to stay back a little bit so we can better see the tonal value, but zoom in so you guys can see what my pen is doing.
Did you say hi to everybody?
I have not yet, but we'll get there.
Okay.
Alrighty, so we kept our tonal value. The light didn't change too much, but we can see better. So hey, Carmen, Spence, Cynthia, Shirley, Sheila, and we had already gotten Burl.
Yep.
Alright, so what I'm going to do, because this is darker, and I've been conservative with my heat, so I kind of need to go in. So I'm at 3. I'm going to touch down in an area that's already dark, and then we're going to move over. And what I just did was I pulled heat from my tip so I wouldn't get that dreaded blob, but still keeps heat.
Allison Price is here.
Well, hello, Allison. So we are going to start darkening, and we'll see. I'll just stick with the sleeve since we got other places to go until we decide that area is complete. So we'll focus on the sleeve for now. Now, we know on the edge it's a slightly lighter because that's where the light was hitting, but it was not this light. So we're going to start darkening. And I'm just going over all the highlights because the highlights are not bright white.
Andrea's here now, too.
Hey, Andrea.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's okay. I didn't hear who you said, so I wanted to look. So they're not super bright. They're just lighter than the shadows. So we're going to push this back, and then I'll unzoom so we can start seeing what this did to the wrinkles. It should flatten them out a bit because it's not like her shirt is crazy wrinkly. I don't feel like I need to do anything really with the white shirt because between the background and the shading I have in, it totally represents white. So I don't feel like I need to worry about that. So I'm just going over all the area that needs to darken. Now, if I go too dark, then I'll lose my shadows within the wrinkle, which means I would have to darken up those shadows and then go back and darken up the shirt more. So that is one thing you need to pay attention to. Now, when deciding if a piece is done, there's a few techniques to see if your piece is, one, balanced. We want our piece to be balanced. We want it to feel like we have room to breathe. And what I mean by this is, as our eyes are going over something, if all of it's too busy, our eye doesn't find a place to stop and take a breath, metaphorically, because obviously we don't breathe through our eyes, but metaphorically, allow our brain to reset and start looking at other things. If you've ever looked at something that was, I mean, just think of a Where's Waldo? Have you ever, even though mine is playing the game, but have you ever looked at a Where's Waldo? There we go, 2 W's. And felt overwhelmed by what you were looking at and that your eyes could not settle on any particular place? That's why. It's so busy, your eye can't decide where it wants to stop and look. For the purpose of the game, totally fine. It's a game. But for our art, we don't want that. So then, if that's what's going on with our eyes, like right up at top, that's pretty busy. And there's some places to stop, but it's still busier than I want. So we have to start deciding what is the most important part of our subject, our burning. What are we trying to convey to the viewer of our piece? So right now, my main goal is my subject. I'm actually going to switch over pens so I can do this a little quicker. The main subject, the main point of the burning is my subject. So that is what I need to have stand out the most. So I'm switching over to the 18 large. I'm going to stick at 3 for now. Let me unzoom this so that we can see more of what's going on. So looking at it, it feels busy. There's a lot going on with the top of it. But our eye does have places to stop. But we've also got another issue. Is this whole area too light? Meaning we've got all these darks down at the bottom. So the bottom feels grounded, but the top feels underwhelming. Would we call that underwhelming? It's not that I overly want detail because it still needs to be blurry. What would we call that? Well, first, let's start. Squint your eyes while you're looking at this screen. Is there anything that stands out to you as you're squinting your eyes? Is there anything that stands out more than the other? For me, it's her hair, but I'm also seeing a lot of the light, so it doesn't feel balanced. We got dark here, but it doesn't feel balanced. That's one of the quick techniques that you can do. It tends to be a little helpful if you're further back, but I can't move back and forth while we're doing this. But if you go further back and squint your eyes, you'll see things that stand out or don't stand out. And so you have to decide with your piece, what do you want to stand out? All right, let's zoom back in. Now, if you have a problem with that, for whatever reason, physical issues with your eyes or whatnot, you can do it with your camera on your phone.
See Burrow's comment?
Of course it is, Burl. Of course it is, because we haven't gotten to final details. He's just blocked in. So you see, Burl just called me out on it. Ezra's hair is too light. Because it is. Because all it is right now, this is all blocked in. That's all we got. Blocking. That's why we're doing final details.
Spence had a comment too.
Is there? See? There you go. It's not balanced right now. And as you're squinting or using your phone, you can use your phone because you can zoom in and out. It will look different to your eyes. Your eyes aren't changing it with your brain communication. The camera lens is just the camera lens and it's just doing what it's doing with no other information implied. Your eyes take everything into context, so it might be harder to see, so your phone is perfect. We can also go upside down and look at it that way to see what feels off about it. If something feels off, that's an area that should be focused on more. It will be your choice as to what it is, whether something needs to go darker or the area around a light area needs to go lighter. Those are all choices that you make. And this is where putting the photo away comes into play. Because now you are working on the art itself. You've already got it blocked in. You got everything where you want it to be. You don't need to finish that. Now is where the art comes in. And you start adjusting it based on what your personal goals for the burning are. So for this, I need to darken. Now there are some lighter areas and I can leave those. But right now it feels too wrinkly to me. It feels too harsh on the wrinkles, so I'm going to push them back. Because it is the shirt, it is not the main detail that I want somebody looking at. The shirt helps complete the picture. The main area of this particular piece...
Roxy.
What is she doing?
Oh no, she's in that box.
Oh. The main goal are the faces. That's what you want your viewer to see first. Are the faces. The rest of the information in the piece is just that information to help support your subject. So if something stands out more away from where you want the focus, then that is where you will take the time to make certain adjustments based on what you're choosing to do. So I can't look at a piece of somebody else's and say, I officially call this done. I can tell you if I feel it's done, but I can't tell you it is officially done, don't work on it anymore, because your goals may be different than what I'm viewing. But I can tell you this is what I see, and you can decide if that goes with the goals that you're trying to achieve. But I can't tell you something is done, because ultimately it's your piece. Now, I will, and this is why Burl gives me a hard time, because I did it to her. And I will do it to the Super Toasties who I know are looking for the information. I will tell you what I would do differently or what I would continue to focus on. If something needs to go darker or lighter, I will do that with the Super Toasties. But not everybody wants to hear that. They just are wanting the support. So we can see this is starting to push back. Feels a little less wrinkly. Well, no, it doesn't. I need to do more. And when you see me look up, I'm looking up at my monitor, and it allows me to see things differently. So, same concept as if I took a picture and I'm looking at it, zooming in, zooming out, making it really small so I can see what information is standing out the most. Excuse me. Making it bigger so I can see what information.
Bro, since you're usually right. Go
Well,
darker.
I appreciate that. It's hard to go darker. I totally get it. Suffered from it for years before I took a deep breath and just did it. It's hard to do because you're happy with how it's looking, and then somebody comes around and says, you need to go darker, or I would go darker, and then you're looking at it going, but then if I screw it up, it won't look like this anymore. Sometimes we just need to go for it.
Spence says, you've done it with me, and I appreciate it.
I have to be careful because not everybody is looking for that information. And I'm not looking to hurt anybody's feelings, just be supportive.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just better.
Carmen says she needs to hear that.
And I will ask, do you want me to tell you? Because Again, I'm not looking to hurt anybody's feelings if I have a different view of it. That's not what I'm interested in. I just want to help people be happy with their burnings and feel they're growing. That, I think, is the biggest. Feel like you're growing. So, has it softened up a little bit from where we've started? It may still need to go darker.
I think so.
But do we have a better visualization of it?
Yeah.
I'm looking. I mean, not here. We're not looking here. Don't look here.
We're talking about the shirt, right?
I'm just talking about the sleeve. It feels overly wrinkly. There's bunches at the top of the seam. Those go with the shirt. But overall, it just feels more wrinkly than it needs to be. Morgan, I know, baby. I know. Pay attention to me. I got it. I feel like this needs to be pushed back. And don't forget, when I varnish, it's also going to slightly darken a little bit too. So my focus right now is more about softening the details of these wrinkles so it doesn't feel overly done. That is my main goal right now. Now, we do know, do we know though? Because I put a different background in.
What do we know?
Well, I'm trying to decide if where I have removed the sequins, if this part of the shoulder is actually darker than the background. Or if I need to darken the background here so it doesn't, so I don't lose it.
Spence says, Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Happy Valentine's Day. See, right here, I feel like I got a little, there's hair right there. So that's not a full circle. But I do feel like that needs to darken up a little bit. But here's the thing, when adjusting, when you're working on your final details, the area next to it is going to affect what you just did. So, in theory, I would need to continue going on with the shirt and going back and forth and balancing. But for the purpose of the lives, I need to move on. But if you're doing this, I would say stay to one area of it. So if you're started working on the shirt, stick with the shirt until you get that all in, and then move on to the next area. Because when I go to adjust the hair, guess what's going to have to adjust again? The shirt. Because everything plays off of each other. So this won't be, like, this is closer on the background. Excuse me. But it won't be done because I will have adjusted the shirt, and now the background needs to readjust. I know this may feel quite overwhelming. But if you hang in there, be patient with yourself, you will see a difference. You will see a difference in your burning. It will feel more finished. It will feel done. Sometimes if you're asking if a piece is done because it doesn't feel done to you, more than likely it is not done. Again, if I'm just the viewer, I can't tell you either way on that because you're making your choices. But me looking at it as a viewer will feel like it's missing something. I may not know why because I'm not looking at the reference, but I will feel like there's something missing from the piece.
And Carmen's asking, do you add in flyaway hairs or just not do them?
I am going to add in some flyaway hairs because I have this part of the hair sticking out, so I do feel for this particular piece that I need some flyaways. Little flyaways, as long as you don't go overly crazy with them, are good because everybody has them. So it's a very tiny detail, but then when the viewer's looking at it, it makes sense in the brain. But can you go overboard? Unless it's a shaggy dog, you absolutely can go overboard with those. So there's a balance of going back and forth where the information is necessary to get across to your viewer what you want them to get across without going so far over that that is the only thing that stands out to them. And this doesn't matter in any way what kind of art medium you're doing. It applies across the board to all art forms.
I would say too that the flyaway hairs are like, that's one of the last things you're gonna do.
Yep. Yep. It's gonna be the last thing you do. And I would not make them overly, for my piece, they will not be overly in your face flyaways. Alright, so on the face, I still have some graphite. I haven't finished her face. I'm actually going to lower my heat. Actually, do I want to switch pins? I'm going to switch pins. I'm going to go back to the small. Because grain raises as heat's applied. And so I found that the small keeps from grabbing the grain as much. Oh, actually, I did not want to zoom in. See, it changes the light. I want to keep it so you guys can really see it better. See, I moved it and there we go. There we go. We're going to zoom in. Get ready. Yep, it changed the light. Interesting. Well then, should I care?
No.
It changed the saturation. I don't want to keep like adjusting my camera because.
Well, you have your reference and you're working in real life. This is just a monitor for us. So
No, this is the live. See, look, I'm wanting it to be as close as possible for them.
Oh, okay.
Remember, the light hits the board and bounces into your eyes, and so it changes.
I was gonna say, us observing it doesn't matter,
but it is. All right, so I am at 1.5. So if you're using a different brand, the shader you like the most that gets the smoothest burn on the lowest setting, of which you still get a burn. So I am flat doing oval strokes, following her forehead shape, and I'm going to go back and forth. The shading is important so that the face does not feel flat. I'm moving quickly because I don't want a heavy burn. Like, we've got dual shadows here. We got the shadows from the hair over the face, and then a different shadow because of where the head is overall placed. I do think I need to do some drawing videos of basic.
Yeah.
Just as references to help if somebody gets stuck. But I'm not going to burn because I don't have time. Alright, let's angle this just a little bit. Now the camera's a little bit more out of my face. I don't like the lighting on the board, but there's nothing I can do about that in this moment. Alright, so remember, turn your board. It's easier to flip your board than flip your wood than to flip yourself. That's not what I put on the cup. What did I put on the cup?
It's easier to
Flip
turn
the
your board than to stand upside down. Stand on your head.
Stand on your head. So I'm very slowly upping the shadow. I know it's going to be hard. It's not even going to. I'm going to bump it up to 2 and hold my breath. I know I can fix an area. I feel confident in fixing an area. So it's more of a don't do as I'm doing, and you guys can't see the shadow. So I'm going to move this back. And I'm going to try to zoom in. Yeah, I don't like what the light's doing. I'm putting the shadow in right here. And then we're going to put in the shadow here. And these are all little details that by themselves may not necessarily matter to your subject, but as a whole brings your piece together. Let's see. He has more hair kind of falling down in the face, but they're baby hairs. So we do need them, but we don't need to detail them. So running my pen in oval circles, that's what I feel getting the smoothest burn. That's the, excuse me. He's over here bumping my elbow as I'm trying to burn.
Say hi.
So we're going to darken up the crown here, or the part. And I can even make a choice to just drag a couple more hairs. Because see, what did I do there? I'm going to actually use the edge of my pen. And drag some hairs down. Then that dot doesn't look as harsh because I've added. Alrighty. Now it feels more filled in. A lot of this I would actually do hair-wise with the 18 extra small. But for now, on her forehead, I don't feel all of it needs to be burned because when I varnish, it's gonna darken. So I don't feel, and again, this is a choice you're gonna have to make as you're doing your burning. What information is required for the viewer to see your piece as a whole? Most viewers aren't like me. They're not going to be 2 inches away looking at your strokes like I do with mine. They're just going to be looking at it. Does it look like you're the person that you're trying to portray? Yeah. It's still not showing up on camera. Can you see the burn in
Not really.
So you can't even see the burn back there. No, not you. Oh, no. Here. Can you see what I'm working on?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Which tells me it needs to go darker. Alright. 2.5. I will bump up in increments. And touch down before my pen's fully heated. It's just another way to keep from getting the dreaded blob. So looking at it, I need to finish putting in her glasses because I'm looking at what's different areas that are affecting the face. Her eyebrows in certain areas need to go a little darker, so I'm tapping. It's not the full eyebrow, just some of the eyebrow, so I need to darken those. See, that just made a difference on her face right there. Right here, a lot of this it's hard to tell. This area right here is darker. So I'm going to smooth this out a bit. So as I'm doing final details, I'm critiquing my piece by itself. This line right here, I don't feel is working. So I'm going to shift it more. Drag. With hair, I do a lot of dragging. So this area, I feel needs to push back further, but right now we'll stick with the face. See all these little adjustments I'm making changes what's going on with the face. So this needs to go darker. Ooh, I'm hot.
What just happened?
Yes, I am that good.
You're a witch.
Thank you. All right. So are we seeing? Still not. All right. So remember, I've bumped up my heat. So what I'm doing, I need to move quicker so I don't get that blob. But darker area here is necessary. So when doing the final details, this is everything I'm looking at. Make sure everything is working together. So I know I need to bring this down a little bit, curve it a little bit more. So it feels right because it does have a bit of curve to it. Bring it back up. And see, just that little bit just changed. Again, the makeup of her face. So I'm flat. Again, trying to darken this shadow just a bit. You can see it more in person than on camera. You see how I'm making all these little micro adjustments? Mm-hmm. And it changes what we're seeing.
I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, doggies.
Yes. Oh, somebody needs to go outside. Now remember, I changed her hair, excuse me, on her face. And the hair is not as dark as it still needs to be, but we do need a shadow.
Come on.
So I'm going to put a shadow. Oops, sorry. But now that I did that shadow, how did that happen? I'm going to switch over. Somebody smells like they need to go to the bathroom. To my extra small. Spare shader, again, carries the heat differently, so I can keep it actually at 2.5, but it's going to burn darker. Let's see here. Little flyaways I think are good, but you can go overboard on those. I got to spray my throat real quick. Luckily, that stuff tastes good. But see, my voice just doesn't sound so tired. All right, so this curl, because it's in conjunction with the face, we do need to focus on it. And I changed it, so I need to pay attention to that. Goes over the glasses. But see, now we have a shadow there that makes more sense on her cheek. And I can go even darker with this. Push that back. Some information is less important. And as the artist, you need to figure out what you want that to be. Ooh, snow. I'm actually going to bump up to 3.5, and you're going to see how much darker this burns. But because I've already got a medium burn here, I do need to up my heat because I'm dragging versus going in the circles. This will just allow me to go quicker. When it's just me and the cameras aren't rolling, I don't necessarily pay attention to that. Your time is important. Alright. Need to push this back more. It's just not working for me. I am not going to overly care about the details in here. My main goal is so we can see the difference. Let's back out for a minute. There we go. We can start seeing the shadow on the face. Let's see here. I'm flat, and even though I'm what appears to be single strokes, I'm still keeping it in the group. Let's drag some hair, separating from this group, because that's what would happen. And so you can see how much darker it's burning on 3.5. Move quickly. Let's pull some hair more into the face. Make some of these curls a little bit more make sense. So how's that? So it looks more like a curl coming into her face, and that's what we want. I still have her chin line right here. So I actually need to bump this down to 2, because we just saw how much more, how darker it burns at a lower heat setting. I need to darken her neck more. I'm flat. That's the top of the shirt. But this forms her chin. And makes it more interesting. So what we're doing to finish this piece is to bring all of these blocking in different directions that we've done together. You know, this needs to be a darker shadow because it's closer to what is going on. I like the small better for shading, so we'll quickly switch over to that. I have a stool my foot sits on, and I knocked it over. But we're okay. Alright. I want this to be smoother. That's why I switched pins.
Come on.
So we know that shadow is darker than even the shadow on the face.
Girls, come on.
We have more shadow from the hair here.
Come on. Come on.
Need to darken where the neck and the head come together. Well, I was hot.
You went back on?
No. Paying attention to where the glasses are casting a shadow. It feels dark, and I have to be okay with that because that's what's going on in her face. Bring this around.
It took them a while to go to the bathroom.
Excuse me. Well, it's snowing and they have to find the correct place.
Mm-hmm.
See, I keep seeing the line of her eye off, so I'm going to use the edge of my tip and just bring that line in. Now it feels more accurate. The final details is going back and forth, back and forth. I see this, so I need to fix this. See, the hair is coming over right here too. And I did this in the first live? Yeah. But you can see some of the glasses, and that actually works. Because it makes it look like there's a thinner group of hair hanging over that area. Somebody did not go to the bathroom. So I'm all the way down to 1. Because now we're going to start darkening some of these shadows. Just using the tip. See, I feel that shadow is just too dark. Not a problem. This is 400 grit sandpaper. It's the same sandpaper that I used on my last sanding, meaning I did 220, 320, 400. So I need to use the same sandpaper.
What is that?
So that the wood stays even and I don't get different
No, Roxy. No. No. Come here.
indents into the wood. Going with the grain, sanding with the grain. Because I moved the hair, I feel I went a little too.
Burl has to go.
Bye, Burl.
She has a cow that's having twins.
Ooh. Well, may the cows be safe. May the calves be safe and healthy.
Yeah.
And Mama good. Alright. Smooth it out. Lighten it up just a bit. I just feel like it's too dark for the location, and because I moved the hair, it does slightly move the shadow because there are shadows from the hair that's in the photo. So I can make this adjustment. And we got our brightest right there on the nose. We got some under here. Again, the wood's going to darken, but this is another way to show me where the lightest areas are. It's just by doing this. We got some light right here, but it's actually going to go away because when I erase, 1, I've got this line here. 2, I use an eraser to pull up any of the sanding gunk. So it is not really sawdust to me. Need to get that graphite out of there. Alright, and then of course, because it's over here, grab my denatured alcohol, and I'm just offended by somebody's butt. It's nasty.
I smell it too.
Alright, I like to use shop towels for this. They're thicker, and I do try to reuse them as much as possible because they cost money, and if I can save money on some things, I can buy other things.
Shop towels are good because they don't leave as much fibers.
Yep. Don't have an issue with lint. It is thicker. Keep my nose out of the jar. I keep my denatured alcohol in a jar. Shoot, that sucked.
What happened?
Oh, I dropped my sanding stick, and now somebody's going to decide
Oh,
they want to adjust their teeth with it.
Morgan's on it.
Oh.
Oh, no, she left it.
So I keep it in a mason jar because after a while the lid will deteriorate on the, thank you so much, the top of the denatured can. So I put it in a mason jar, make sure I mark it, and don't keep it near anything that I drink. Because it is very toxic. So I'm letting a little bit of it come off the paper towel. Now let's wipe. So now we see it won't go quite this dark. But when we varnish, we are going to see it darken. The wood will darken. Yeah, it pulled a little bit of the carbon off. Totally fine. But it also tells me I'm not losing, some of my shadowing is not as prominent. Again, the shading is not necessarily fading. In most cases, not fading, especially since we're still working on it. You see how dark the wood has gotten, so it's equal to the burn. That's why it may look like you lost your burning. You didn't lose it. It's there. But it's because the wood, and I'm trying to, there's some graphite on her chin. They've equaled each other out. They've equaled each other out. So the wood's going to darken about that much. Not even that much with the workable fixative that I use. It will. I've got a test board. I just have to wait a couple more months to pull it out of my window to show you how much the fixative darkens the wood. It's not as much as you would think, thankfully. If you straight varnish onto the wood, that will darken it more so. Just trying to clean the graphite off. Sometimes you got to go back and forth. Now you'll know it's still wet if it's cold to the touch. It's still wet. We do not want to burn on the wet part. But thankfully, because it's alcohol, it takes a lot less time to dry, which means it also doesn't raise the grain like water does. And that's the denatured alcohol. That's why you want it. It has the least amount of water. I see this line is not doing anything with that pen. Is it? Which pen am I on? I'm on this. So I see this line where the hair and hair shadow and cheek meet. I just need to clean that up a little bit more. Final details is putting everything into place and critically looking at your burning to see what you want to adjust on it. If you can detach yourself, this is not about you telling yourself that you suck and you can't do this and any of the other nasty things our brain can narrate to us. That is not what critical viewing of the burning. So your own critique, that's not what it's about. It's about, do I need more detail here? Do I need less detail? Does this need to tighten up? Does this need to be a little looser or softer so it has more of a blurry effect? Does this need to go darker? Does this need to go lighter? Is my drawing as close as what it should be? That is what a critique is. Not telling yourself you're screwing it up. And I'm trying to watch the words I use because I know what words I would use for myself in the past. It's not about that. That is not how you finish a piece. You will never finish a piece if you focus on yourself in such a negative way. That piece will never get done because you at that point will have put such a nasty taste in your mouth for the piece that you just don't want to do it. So we need to stay away from that. The only critical eye is what technically I need to do differently to bring this piece to where I want it. Darker, lighter, more detail, less detail. Blurry, smoother strokes maybe. Something needs to move a little bit. All those technical is what we need to focus on. And once you get those technicals where you want them, you will pull away and look, and your piece will be done. I can't be the only one who's nasty to myself in regards to my art.
Well, I think
that I can't be the only one doing that.
I think most artists are.
Think F words and B words and think all the words. My vortex.
My inner monologue when I'm doing my art it's pretty mean.
We need to get away from that as artists, just in general. We will not get the piece done. Or we'll get the piece done, and let's face it, it's going to be a little crappy. Because at that point, our negative emotions have now penetrated our mind and into our hand and then into our work. So even if it's actually a good piece, you will have taken all that negativity that you had in your head, that you heard, that you thought of yourself, and you will put it into this piece. And that will mean every time you look at this piece, even if it's a really good piece, every time you look at the piece, one, it'll make you feel like shit. And two, it's just not going to be what you wanted.
Andrea says, well said. Cynthia says, you're not the only one. I'm nasty with myself a lot.
I think we all are. So if we can learn to back off. This is not about me. This is about what the wood is looking like. This is about what the burning is looking like. So if we take the me, my out of it and just critically look, you will have an easier time deciding if your piece is done. If you can just detach just a little bit. I mean, you don't want to fully detach from a piece. These are my grandkids. I adore my grandkids. I want this to look as much like my grandkids as possible. So that's one hand. The other hand, I am not perfect. I am human and do not have the computer or robotic skills to recreate exactly. The wood decides sometimes, a lot of times, how it's going to burn. So these are all the things that take away from this being an absolute reproduction. Now, are there people that do such brilliant work that even if you're a perfectionist, you can't pick out their screw-ups? Yep, there is. There is. But then, in that next thought, back out and say, do I feel anything about this piece? Or is this piece too technical? Then, I can live without it.
So Carmen says you should hear what she was saying when she did the portraits.
Yeah, we have to stop this. And I know this live is about finishing and knowing when to be done.
I think it's important.
I think that's part of it.
Yeah. You know, and I think the other side of that is being too lenient or being delusional.
Yes.
Because and sometimes there's two reasons why you would do this. One of them is because that you actually see what's wrong, but you're trying to talk yourself out of fixing it because it's too hard, or
you want to be done.
It would be just great if it was done, and it's like, oh, if I can just find a way that I can ignore this, then I can move on. And the other version of that is that you have such an ego, and you're so detached from you have a self-inflated ego, or maybe other people have inflated it for you.
Most of the time, I think that's the case, that somebody else has inflated your ego.
Where you just think it's awesome, and I think that's actually worse, because what I see with people like that, and I think I have not recently, but a long time ago, I was a victim of that, and because I had people who are in my friend circle that would be like, "Oh yeah, this is awesome," yeah, that's great. Don't change a thing.
I kind of broke that.
Yeah, you did with a hammer. But
Because I don't want to be lied to.
no,
Burl very comfortably felt, hey, you need to darken this.
yeah.
She felt totally comfortable with telling me this.
And I don't think that, that my friends lie. It's just that they
love you.
They weren't looking very closely.
And they love you, and they don't want to hurt your feelings.
But if too many people are like that, you will get the idea that you are amazing. And some people have this illusion where they believe that they're absolutely amazing, and it's shattering when they meet an artist who is really, really competent, because they can see clearly the difference, and that's a hard one to get over. And there's a lot of artists that have quit because they thought that they were amazing, and then they decided to step up. Let's say a gallery show. Somehow they got a gallery show, or somehow that they managed to get in proximity to another artist who was really, really competent, and it was shattering for them, crushed them, because then they could say, oh my God, I'm not as awesome as I think I am.
So I've been starting to darken this side of the hair. There's still more I need to do on Jessica, but I want to make sure that we hit Ezra a little bit too. And so I know that looking at my photo, this side of the hair needs to be darkened. But look what happens. It starts blending with that circle. So that tells me this circle needs to go darker.
Suspense says he hasn't finished his bear because it's associated with negative thoughts. So I would say especially with pyrography, because it's such a permanent it's a permanent art form, meaning that you have to be very careful. So if you have too many errors, then sometimes it's not something that you can fix easily, or maybe you can't fix it. But in the past, when I have realized that I have gone down the road too far and that a piece is not salvageable, then that piece becomes a study. And I learn from that and I start over. So, and granted, it is a large investment of time if you put time into a piece and you find that it's not salvageable or you're just not happy with it. But if you need to start over, you're still going to take everything that you learned prior from working on the previous piece and apply it to the new one. So it's not a loss. It's just, it becomes a study. It becomes a teaching point for yourself.
I highly recommend, say in your specific case, Spence, sand the damn bear off. Just sand it off. But while you're sanding, keep in mind, I'm sanding the negativity off. Sanding it off. That way you can use that. You can redo that bear. Do that bear again from a different mindset. And see how you feel about it then.
Yeah, just vacuum up the sawdust.
Yeah, just get rid of it. Just blow it away.
But don't breathe in the sawdust because it'll choke you, and then you'll be choking on negativity.
Fan it away. Send that negativity out, away from your body, away from your mind, and redo it. And I bet you, one, you will see an improvement, even though you haven't been burning for quite some time. Even though you will see an improvement, and you will feel better about that beer. That beer. You'll feel better about the beer.
Freudian slip?
No, I don't drink beer.
No.
I'll drink Corona, but I don't, in general, drink beer. You'll feel better about the bear. The bear will look better than you thought, and you will have gotten rid of that negativity that you've attached to it. So just sand it all the way off. I was of the thought to keep it, continue working on it, and if you don't have negative thoughts to it, then that still sticks. But if you have attached a negative thought to that burning because of what we've already discussed, sand the damn thing off, brush away that negativity, and redo it.
And I agree with you 100%, because if you keep that other piece around, it's fine to keep it around for as long as you're learning off of it, right? But once you've learned whatever lesson it is that you need to learn, You get rid of it. Like she said, sand over it. I'm a painter, so
you've repainted canvases.
Paint over the paint over it. Get rid of it, because as long as it hangs around, it is going to continually be a reminder of something that you didn't like. And so if you can sand it down, or painting, you paint over it, then and you make something much better, then that piece becomes a triumph, and it becomes a positive point that you can focus on.
I think Leland needs that.
So I think she just wants to lick the wall.
She was just hitting the...
She went to the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right, so details on his face. That shadow over his eye, his stinker eye, and if you haven't watched any of the past lives, I say this is his stinker side, because if you actually look at this, one side is angelic, and the other side, because of how the hand is and where it's located, we got stinker side. So his stinker side. See, I've noticed something that's really...
It's a Jekyll and Hyde.
It is. On this one, it's amazing how much it's a Jekyll and Hyde. The eye feels too white. So I need to bring it down. Close it up a bit.
I am just letting you know that the 60 minutes have elapsed.
Okay. Well, this is the last public live, specifically for this. We will come back for another live, but... because I do miss burning with people. More people, I should say, because I do burn with people.
What is our normal public live schedule now?
Every couple of months, maybe?
Maybe if you want to come back, maybe consider doing it more than that if you miss it.
Maybe. Because I do miss them. I do miss doing... It's just...
It's a lot of preparation.
It's a lot of preparation, and I don't get a lot of stuff done. So I've got... used to, I didn't burn like this. I always finished a burn before I started a new one, and it wasn't until YouTube that I started bouncing like this, and it really, really drives me nuts. So I have to either decide that I want to stick, and I like being able to do whatever I want to do. I mean, we've done the card draws, and I like being able to do that.
Carmen says she loves the lives.
And I know we've gotten some new viewers, so I really don't like leaving them out.
Layla. Stop.
What I'm trying to do is reshape this eye. This eye looks bigger than this eye, and it shouldn't. So I'm trying. Again, this is all part of doing final details. I see this, and I'm like, no, this needs more adjustment.
But that's how detailing out a piece goes, because you see things that are out of adjustment, or that need adjustment, and then once you adjust them, then you're calibrated down to the next smaller thing that needs adjustment, and then eventually you'll just, like you said, you'll be out of adjustments, or it'll just be meaningless adjustments where you're just messing with it.
Yeah, if it doesn't change, if you're not seeing any change,
yeah,
then it should be done.
If it's not an improvement, then it's not an improvement.
Yeah. See, there's a highlight here. I can paint that highlight in. So I'm going to make it go away. This eye needs more shading. Touch down in an area. I've already touched down because this wrinkle right here. So this is just a matter of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Let me zoom out so we can see. I can see something in that eye. Now, look at that eye. Look at his eyes. Does that not feel different than when we started?
It does.
It still needs adjustments that I see up close, but the picture as a whole, does it
I think that
look...
side of his face is a little darker in shade.
Yeah, it needs more shading. So I can officially say it is not done, but I knew it wasn't going to be done. I just wanted to have this conversation.
It's a good conversation.
There we go. Sorry for any language. I'm actually really good.
Yeah?
Yes. Sailors blush when I get feisty.
They run out of the bar.
They leave. They run.
Yeah.
Can't handle it. I am offended.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have to be really good on the lives. And it's hard. All right. You know what? I am going to think real hard. If people will stick with me on doing more than one live or 2 lives or even 4 lives on a piece, I will look at coming back to the public. But I also did it because the Super Toasties are supposed to get lives. So maybe we'll do it once or twice a month.
Yeah.
Instead of every week.
Yeah.
Once or twice a month.
Maybe, yeah.
A public live, and then the rest go to the Super Toasties.
Well, I think once would be good because then it allows you to check in, and then that also is not too much pressure.
That's true. Okay, I do have a couple more things. So I'm trying to get this finished. Hopefully it'll be finished. These other 2 will be finished. February 25th and 26th. Excuse me. We will be down February 26th in Mesa, Arizona for the Arizona Desert, I always missay it wrong, Desert Woodcarver Show. I am entering 5 pieces. Hopefully this will go, if not it'll be 4. Entering 5 pieces for the open competition. Mama looking to bring home some ribbons. I haven't gotten any in a while. I like my ribbons.
Yeah, you do.
Hey, it makes me feel like I accomplished something. My ribbons make me feel I did something and somebody else appreciated it. That's why I like my ribbons, I think. We're going all psychotherapy today. So, February 26th, if you're down in the Phoenix area, come see us. I will make sure to post both on YouTube in the regular post, community post, that one will be open to everybody, and in the Facebook group. So I know they're not here, but if Kathy and Wanda want to come visit, they can come visit us. And then World Pyrography Month, I switched it to March 1st. I'm still wanting to do it. The theme of World Pyrography Month this year is going to be album cover. But with a twist. You're picking your own songs from all your favorite artists and burning one image for each of those songs and putting it all together as a greatest hits for you in burning form.
That sounds cool.
I just gotta figure out how to write the prompts so that it makes sense. So that's what we will start doing March 1st.
So
we know we got Zeppelin, Michael Franti, Hart, Stevie Nicks, John Butler, and Government Mule on my greatest hits.
I thought it was just going to be all Neil Diamond.
He's got some good songs. Oh. I grew up with him, so that don't work. That don't work. Give me Roy Rogers, then.
Conway Twitty.
Oh. Oh, and YouTube hasn't shown you, but I put up a short on Sunday. A funny short about owies. So you can go to my main page, the homepage on YouTube, and you can see the owie. Not a new owie, though.
Please remember to like and comment. It always helps the channel. And subscribe. Hit the notification bell.
Ding! I don't have the sound effects loaded up, so I'm just good.
Morgan groaned when you hit the notification bell. She was like,
do it. Alrighty. You know what to say with me. Say it with me. You're awesome. You can do this. Why? Because you're a pyro artist. Happy burning, guys. Bye. Spin side.